Hey, this is Tiamo, and I want to thank you so much for all of your incredible comments and your emails based on the first two videos of this free video training series. And in video number 1, we talked about what you said are your top 5 biggest challenges in growing your music business. And then in video number 2, I talked about the music industry matrix and all the illusions and the lies of the music industry matrix. And then we talked about stepping outside of the music industry to discover your new truths. And so today, I'm going to be talking about what that looks like. I'm going to be talking about your new success and your new reality with your music. And so, something that I want to share is that when I was at the edge of leaving my day job for my music dream full time, I was filled with excitement, but I had so much fear around what was going to happen. And I actually had this really irrational, crazy fear that within months of leaving my job, I was going to go homeless. And it was so extreme that actually when I would be out, I would be kind of scouting for what would be good places to be homeless. And, I just share that because I want to be honest in that I had so many fears around that. And I resonate with the fears that you've had and that you've shared. But the thing that helped me so much is that I had a plan. And I knew that I just needed to take action and I needed to implement. And so despite my fear of going homeless, that never happened. And within the first month of leaving my day job, I had my biggest gig ever, performing in front of 15,000 people. And like I shared in the previous video, I was making $500 per minute doing that when I broke it down. And then over time, I became a 6-figure musician, doing this all by myself, without a manager or agent or any sort of representation. And so today I want to talk about how you can do that, because this is all about your success and how you can empower yourself right now. And I know, hearing from so many of you, that you're just really frustrated about the industry and you want a new path. And so that's what we're talking about today. And so, when I say that I stepped outside of the music industry, that all started with me knowing what I had to say no to. So before I could find what my big yes was, I had to discover and claim what my no was. And my no was that I committed to no longer performing at coffee shops and at clubs and bars. And for me, that really helped me to commit to my new reality. And so that's what I want to share with you today. And the biggest thing I can say as I go into this now is that your music creates an emotional experience for you. And even deeper than that, when we think about the context of conferences, conventions, and seminars and things like that, what I want you to know is that people remember emotional experiences. They don't remember information and content. And because your music creates an emotional experience for them, that's where your greatest value is. And that's where you get paid really big dollars, and you get paid what your music and your message is truly worth. So there are 5 different markets that you can get into where you'll be in front of big audiences and making the kind of money that you're worth. So number 1 is the academic market. And what I mean by that is colleges and high schools. And there's a tremendous market for that. We're going to go into that a little bit. Number 2 is the corporate market. And the corporate market is huge. And, when I say corporate market, I'm referring to company banquets, corporate trainings and conventions. The third is the seminar market. And really that's around personal development and motivation, and there's tons of personal development seminars around that. And then number 4 is the network marketing market. And some of you may know of that as multi-level marketing. And the network marketing market is incredible as far as all the conferences that they have to really motivate everyone to go out and sell their product or service. And there's hundreds of network marketing companies, which means there's hundreds of conferences that you could be performing at. But one of the most popular ones that you're probably familiar with is Amway, and there's so many others that are looking for you and your music and all you can provide for their conferences. And then number 5 is the association market. And this one is a little under the radar. Like not a lot of people know about this, but this is a tremendous market. And what I mean by the association market is it's community and business and personal interest groups, and they have conferences. And so there are so many possibilities for you in all 5 of these markets. So when we talk about companies and corporations, the best way to get in the door with that is to contact event planners or meeting planners. They're both the same thing. Sometimes they call them a little, it's either event planners or meeting planners, and that's who you have to directly go to get on those corporate stages. And then as far as the academic market and schools, what you want to do is really get in touch with student activity groups or leadership groups, as well as student government. And then, also direct contact with administration, meaning principals, assistant principals, and then also sometimes district superintendents. So, the biggest thing I can share about this is how big companies' budgets are. We're talking, they might be putting on an event for like $1 million. For example, I just came from an event where their budget was $1.2 million for their conference. And so paying you, let's say $10,000 is like nothing to them when you think of it in the context of $1.2 million. And a big secret about that is that they have to spend their budget. If they don't spend their entire budget, then what that means is the next year they don't get as much money. So that's the same thing for the academic market, because they have grants for leadership development and diversity training and social awareness. And so let's say a school has a budget of $250,000, and if they don't spend that grant, that entire grant, then the next year they're not going to get as much. And again, that's the same thing for the corporate market. So they're actually trying to get rid of their money. And this is the difference between working with individuals like venue owners who don't want to pay you. I mean, you know what that's like, right? So rather than working with individuals who don't want to pay you in the music industry, think about working with entities who are not personally attached to their money, and they're actually spending their company's money on you. And again, when we talk about the emotional experiences, this is where you get paid incredible amounts for your talent and for your gift. And so I want to talk about what that looks like. So for companies, it would be around employee trainings. And then for students, it would be around, again, like I talked about, leadership development, diversity, and social awareness. And the biggest secret that I can share with you today is there are huge budgets for keynotes. And you might be familiar with like a keynote address where someone comes out and they give a keynote speech, and that's like the highlight of the company event. And so what I want for you to do is to start doing musical keynotes. Now, you might have also heard me refer to that as keynote concerts, but the reason why musical keynotes are incredible is because you're offering more than the average keynote. You're offering the keynote, but then you're also offering your music, which is the emotional experience of it. And so you're just combining the keynote speech with the musical performance. And first I want to tell you what that looks like as far as how you can get paid. So starting out, we're looking at around $2,500 for one musical keynote. And then average would be around $5,000 per musical keynote. And then beyond that, if you're looking at a higher level, then it would be more in like the $10,000 range for a musical keynote. And then, from there, it could grow to, maybe $20,000 or even $30,000. Right now, my current musical keynote fee is $10,000. But let's break this down and look at if you did one musical keynote, and let's just take the average, like eventually you're doing it for $5,000 per keynote. That's one keynote a month for $5,000, and then if you multiply that by 12 months, then that would be $60,000 per year doing one gig a month. Like, isn't that so refreshing and exciting and empowering? So, I'm going to show you in a little bit how you could be actually making more than $200,000 per year doing musical keynotes. But one of the most exciting things about doing these keynotes is that you're performing in front of instant audiences. Like, you don't have to do any self-promotion anymore. And so what that means is you're just coming out on stage and there's already hundreds and maybe thousands of people right there just waiting for you to perform. And you didn't have to do the thing to get them in the seats. You didn't have to invest any money. You didn't have to put any time or effort into that. And isn't that just amazing? So I can't tell you how good that feels when you get to experience that. And what I want for you to know is you're just simply combining your music with speaking. And it's really a matter of just like what my normal musical keynote set looks like is I'm just doing 3 songs and 3 stories. So, like when I think about to my coffee shop days, I would sing my songs and I would tell the stories about the songs. And speakers are just really good storytellers with a message. So all you do is you tell your stories about your songs. And by the way, they don't have to be your original songs, but they could be, you could have stories around songs. So you just tell a few stories, you sing the songs, you have a message, and there you go. You have a musical keynote. And between you and me, a little secret is that you just call yourself a speaker. Now we know that you're just doing your music thing. But if you change in linguistics from musician to speaker, you now demand a much higher fee, which is how you can get paid, like we were talking about $5,000 to be on a stage for one gig. So how do you grow your fan base with all this? Because one of your frustrations was, I don't know how to grow my fan base in the way that I'd like and to be in front of bigger audiences. The way you do that is you actually, when you're doing a musical keynote, of course, you're going to be performing songs, and if you have recordings of the songs, which I highly recommend, then you can tell the audience, if you would like to have this song or these songs for free, then get out your cell phones right now and text me at this number. So they would send a text to this number, and then they would automatically get a response, so they would get the songs for free, and then they would be added to your email list. And so now, let's say you're performing in front of like 1,000 people, you've now had a huge chunk of those people just join your email list in one instant. I also want to talk about how you can sell your music, because there's this limiting belief out there that people are only streaming free music and they're not buying music anymore. And I can tell you that I am selling more of my albums now than I ever have. And my biggest secret around that is now when I perform in front of audiences, I can get 100% of the audience to buy my album. And the way that I do that is when I'm working with, let's say, a company, I offer my albums in bulk rate so that they could give their albums to their entire audience for free. So all of their, let's say all of their employees that are part of an employee training, they're in this event, I do my musical keynote, and then everyone has an album right there in their seat. And so rather than selling my album for $15, I'd sell it for $8. And let's say I'm performing in front of an audience of 1,000 people. Well, that's, $8 times 1,000 is now $8,000 that I've just made on top of my musical keynote fee. And I've also just sold 1,000 copies of my album. So I want to now pivot to custom songs, because the musical keynote is a big focus, but with custom songs, that's also something that I know you love and I want to talk more about, which is, you can create custom songs for couples in the context of weddings, engagements, and anniversaries. You can create custom songs for businesses like ad agencies and corporations like we've talked about. And then you can create custom songs for speakers and seminar companies. So my current custom song fee is $5,000 per song. I've actually created songs up to $20,000 per project. And if you're looking to write custom songs for couples, my biggest strategy with that is to partner with wedding planners, where wedding planners can recommend you and your custom songwriting service to their clients. So they're doing the marketing for you. And then if you want to write custom songs for businesses, I would go directly to event planners around that. And then for speakers, you can just contact a speaker directly or with seminar companies. Now, one of the biggest things I can share with you during this training is a 3-for-1 package deal, where imagine that you're doing a musical keynote for, let's say, average of $5,000. And then you're going to write a custom song for the company that you're doing the musical keynote for. And you're actually performing that custom song right there in the musical keynote. You're revealing the song to everyone in the audience at that musical keynote. And so let's say you're charging that company $5,000 for the custom song itself. So now you've got the musical keynote for $5,000, you've got the custom song for $5,000, and then remember you have the company buying your album in a bulk rate. So let's say you're performing in front of 1,000 people, they're paying $8 per album, that's $8,000. So now you've got $5,000 for the keynote, $5,000 for the custom song, and then $8,000 for the album. That ends up being $18,000 for one gig. You multiply that by 12 months, and then now you have $216,000 doing one gig per month. Talk about how much freedom that comes with and prosperity. So, maybe you're thinking like, how do I have the time to do this? Well, when we talk about time, I want you to know that I want you to create a team around this and have other people do all the contacting for you. So you can do that through interns, whether that's college interns or people who just want to work with you that are fans. And the second possibility is you could also hire people out who get paid a commission. So let's say they book a musical keynote for you. Then they might get 10% of that, and so now they're getting paid. So now you have a staff. So as you're hearing all this, I know that this could be really, really exciting, and you may have some objections, and some of that may be, well, Tiamo, I'm not a speaker, and so I don't know, I'm not comfortable calling myself a speaker. That's something that, I just want you to know, because I face that too, but you're just doing your music, and you're just talking, you're telling your stories, but you're just calling yourself a speaker. And then the other thing, you might be thinking, well, I don't have the time for this. And even if I hire people, like some way I don't have time for that. I want you to give your team, I want you to give them templates and I want you to give them scripts. And then they just follow that and they do it for you. This is so possible for you. And the time that you put up front, the little time that you put up front in creating your team in the long run is going to create so much time freedom for you and creativity and being able to get paid what you really want to do and do this full time. And maybe you also you're thinking you don't see how this is possible for you. Like, Tiamo, okay, you've done all this and maybe you're really business savvy, but I don't see how this can work for me. But it really can work for you if you follow these steps. So I want you to know that there's going to be one more video coming. It's going to be the final piece of this training. I'm going to talk about the last steps and how to get started. This was an overview, but we're really going to go into how you can move forward with all of this. So I'd love for you to leave your comments on this video, and I cannot wait to see you in the last video, video number 4.